Hello, my name's Paul. I'm the Accidental Bookseller. Welcome to the channel. So I've got my pad again, which means it's another tag, because I've got well behind on my tags and I want to make a concerted attempt to do as many as possible in the coming few days and weeks. This one is the Big 6-0 book tag. I've been nominated by Alan at Alan's Reads, and it's been created by Suey at Suey's Book Banter, and it's a tag which celebrates her 60th birthday. Get straight into the questions. There's 6 questions. Number 1 is, what is a comfort read you will never outgrow? This is a tricky one because I might have said before, I tend not to reread books. The book I've read the most is The House on the Borderland by William Hope Hodgson. I can't keep bringing that out every time there's a question about rereads, or I've brought it out on a number of other occasions. So I started thinking, and what are other books that you read that you don't necessarily reread? And the coffee table books, things that you can just pick up and put down, and you maybe read the same thing multiple times, and they're just pleasure reads. Often there'll be art books or something similar. And the one that I've picked is my Taschen book on H.R. Geiger. I've not shown this one before. Oh, it's a fantastic book. Artwork, sketches. Got to look carefully because sometimes they're a bit rude. Dining table. How about that as a dining table? It's more recognisable, alien type artwork. Also rough plans and articles. There's lots and lots in here. And it's the sort of book that you can pick up and put down. The one regret from when I used to be a backpacker in the early 90s was that the H.R. Geiger Museum either wasn't open or wasn't publicised, or I didn't know about it. I suspect it wasn't open. It's a relatively recent thing, and it's in Switzerland. And I mean, I can't go to Switzerland again just for this. It's a bit extreme, but I really would like to get there. That was a long time over question 1, wasn't it? What is a book that was published in the decade you were born? This is a quick one. Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. This is the Modern Classics, Penguin Modern Classics edition. And if you've seen the video that I did for 2026 reading, this is one of the 12 classics I'm reading in 2026. Number 3. What is a book you would rate 6 stars in a 5-star rating system? I am going to bore you here. And I'm probably competing with Alan on how many times he's brought up the Count of Monte Cristo versus how many times I brought this book up. I am not a serial 5-star marker. I'm quite brutally hard on giving 5 stars out. Lots of 4s, predominantly 3s. I think I've only done 2 1s, but it's got to be a real Hall of Fame enjoyment read to be a 5. Last year I didn't have a 5. Some years I can have a couple, but I think I've probably got about 12 lifetime 5s. So for a 5 to become a 6, it's got to be good. So my number 2 book of all time, Cormac McCarthy's The Road. I want to do a video on this because I'm starting to get annoyed at videos that I see where people are negative about it for the wrong reasons. It appears that they're being negative to get clicks. They know it's a favourite, and of all the people I've recommended it to that I read it, I don't think there's one of them where it's not become an all-time fave. So I think some of the descriptions that I've seen criticising it, I think are pretty preposterous and unreasonable. It's fine to not like it, but some of the things that I said about it are just wrong. So I might do an opinion video on The Road, not a review, but an opinion about The Road and the Booktube community. Fantastic book though. Number 4. What is a favourite book from your 6 most read genres? So the question is, what is a favourite? So not the favourite, I've assumed. Because if I show the favourite, then you've seen it all before. So I've tried to pick a favourite that you haven't seen before. In some cases I've failed. But the first one is crime. A favourite book from the crime section is anything really by Mo Hayder. I've picked The Treatment out. This is the second book in the Jack Caffrey series. First one is, I think it's Birdman it's called. Mo Hayder passed away a couple of years ago. There's still little bits and bobs being released by her. The well might be running dry now, but she passed away long before her time. I think she might have had something like motor neuron disease or something along those lines. But a real great loss to the crime writing community. If you've not read Mo Hayder, you are definitely missing out. The next subject is horror. I've picked. And you've seen this one before because I go on about it a lot. And this is Robert Weinberg's Blood War, which is the volume 1, book 1 in the series The Masquerade of the Red Death trilogy. White Wolf Publishing. And you have to be careful, as I've said before, on getting these, because when the trilogy had been completed by Robert, White Wolf Publishing then branched out and published lots and lots of books in the book universe, so to speak. If you like the film, I think it's Underworld with Kate Beckinsale in, it's about vampires. There's things, I'm not going to say there's things copied, but there are. When I watched the first film, I thought, oh, that's a bit close to the plot for this. And yeah, I heartily recommend it. Whilst I read vampire books, I'm not really into the vampire trope of a vampire seducing the submissive, vulnerable lady. It's been done to death. I prefer the more visceral things, because the vampires at the end of the day, they're not just gonna walk in your bedroom, kiss your neck, and make you a cup of tea. They're gonna eviscerate you. And there's not really much evisceration goes on in this, but there's certainly not very much romance goes on either. And again, Robert Weinberg's no longer with us. If you can track these down, then they're not cheap to get hold of, but you are in for if you're into vampires, this needs to be on your shelf, this series. Going back to the question is, what is favourite book from your 6 most read genres? So the third genre is science fiction, and I'm going to pick Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Don't have the book because I sold it, because it was the film tie-in copy, and it was a bit naff. And I want to get the Kazuo Ishiguro box set with about 4 or 5 or 6 of his books in. It's all the same design. So this particular book, it's sort of science fiction, it's sort of dystopian. If you've got to put it in one genre, you'd either put it in you definitely put it in dystopian, and you'd probably have to put it in science fiction, but it's not. If you don't like science fiction, you still can read Never Let Me Go and love it. It's more a case of the book living within a science fiction universe, or version of Earth, but not that much different to our own. I can't say much more without giving spoilers, but read Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. You will enjoy it. Fourth genre that I've picked out is non-fiction, and I've picked out Serhii Plokhy's Chernobyl, History of a Tragedy. You'd think this would be quite a dry, slow read, but think again, this is a fantastic book. I collect the orange spine modern non-fiction penguins. It's a fantastic read. It's not slow, the pace is right. There's a lot of detail, but you just take it in. You don't feel like you're getting bogged down with detail that you either don't understand or don't want. It's detail loaded, but in a quite dramatic, fictional type progression, although it's a non-fiction book. Serhii Plokhy was a consultant, or he was involved in the Sky TV Chernobyl series, which I believe won awards, which is fantastic in itself. I haven't read Midnight in Chernobyl, the other well-known book about the disaster, so I can't say this is better than that, but this is a fantastic read. And if you want if you want a cheery read, give it a go. Number 5, the genre is the paranormal, which I guess is non-fiction. I've picked Surviving Death by Leslie Kean. A journalist investigates evidence for an afterlife. What's different to this compared to many of the other books and fails on the topic is that she is very, very well balanced in her formulation and expression of views. I like down the middle stuff. I don't like people who are complete believers, and I don't like people who are complete skeptics. I want to be presented with stuff and me form an opinion based upon that presentation. My career is software testing, software test management, and I will always look for facts and form judgment based upon facts that come to me. So I'll sit on the fence until I'm presented with a fact, which will, and that fact will push me into being a believer or not. Because if sufficient facts are presented to you, you don't really, either believing or not believing is immaterial. Because if you're presented with enough of facts, then it's a factual situation that you're being shown. Sixth genre. What is a favourite book from your 6 most read genres? And I've picked biographies. And Pete Burns, Freak Unique, the autobiography. Pete Burns was in Dead or Alive, celebrated pop musicians of the 80s and early 90s. But before they became famous for You Spin Me Round, their music was probably, you could describe it as on the goth side. Wayne Hussey from The Mission and the Sisters of Mercy was famously a guitarist in that era of the band. This covers Pete's life, and it's just a really interesting read. He does come across a little bit needy by the time that he's writing this book, as a sort of needy celebrity, but on the whole, it's just a fascinating and worthwhile read. I think I got it for about $2.99 or $3.99 in the works, I think it was at the time. 2006. Yeah, I remember reading it in about 2007 or 8. Well, that's Freak Unique by Pete Burns. Question 5, just 2 to go. What is a book you knew you would love even before you opened it? A book you had a sixth sense about? There's not many, if any. The type of answer that I came to in the end was books where you know the author already and you've enjoyed book after book after book that he or she's written. So when the next book comes along, you know that you're going to like it. There's a greater element of trust. So I've picked any book by Jeffrey Deaver, the crime writer. This is The Bone Collector. The Bone Collector was a film with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie in. And for what I'm going to recommend to you for Jeffrey Deaver, although pretty much everything that he writes is good, go for the Lincoln Rhyme series. And there's must be about a dozen or more books in the series now. You pretty much can read them in any order, but you'll miss out if you don't read them in order. So read The Bone Collector first, and yeah, you're in for a treat. He's not a standard James Patterson crime by numbers type writer with 8 lines per chapter. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. He's just a quality writer. It's Jeffrey Deaver. Final question. What is a book you would recommend to the next generation of readers? So this covers something that annoys me a little. There are people, booktubers, that do horror reviews. I think there's probably only one specific channel that I watch quite often because of this. There'll be younger people who almost exclusively just read modern horror books, and they'll ask for suggestions, and you'll dip onto their comments and you'll suggest particular classic horror authors, and some they just ignore you, and others you might just get a like or whatnot, and you think, oh, wonder if they'll follow it up, but they never do. And video after video after video, it's just modern horror. Some absolutely classic, fantastic reads out there if they just diversify a bit. And now, don't get me wrong, there might be lots of fantastic books that have just been written in the horror genre. There's an awful lot written before as well, such as Brian Lumley's Necroscope. Shown this a few times before. Try not to mention it too much because I don't want to bore you. This is the first in the Necroscope series, of which there's, as you can see them all behind me, just up there, probably about 14 or 15 of them. 5 Necroscopes, 3 Vampire Worlds, and then some more after it. But for people who like series, for people who like vampires, there is no better series than the Necroscope series. From the cover point of view, Americans like the American covers, and Brits tend to like the British covers. These are the George Underwood covers, which I absolutely love. George Underwood is the David Bowie album cover designer and school friend of David. Around the time of the 4th or 5th Game of Thrones TV series, I read an article where it was proposing different book series that should be made into TV series. It gave a top 10, and the Necroscope series was in the 10. The option to do a TV series has been taken up, but it's not gone anywhere in quite a few years. I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping it's not going to be a film, because there's just far too much good stuff. This is magnificent. So yeah, if you want a series, if you like horror and you like fantasy, because it does, from about the 4th or 5th book onwards through the Vampire World trilogy, it does become more of a horror fantasy series than purely horror. The first 2 or 3 are probably, you can count as horror, but beyond that, it's more horror fantasy, because you go through a portal into the vampire world, and the vampires kind of live at like Arthurian vampire lords in big lighthouse type stacks, and you've got different mythical beasts that live on those planes as well, and there's a portal backwards and forwards into this world. So yeah, give it a go. These aren't cheap to get. You still can get them new, but the prices stubbornly don't tend to move. So go on eBay and just get them gradually secondhand. One thing you've got to look out for with these is with the black spines, they do get creased very easily, and a lot of the copies that you see floating around are quite badly damaged spine wise, so just be careful. Yeah, give that a go, please. You won't regret it. Number 7 is tag others, which I will do. I'll find 2 or 3 people to tag. If you like the video, you want to see more videos that I produce, by all means click like, click subscribe, click hype if you really want to. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.